I'm now moving on to lesson number 2 in the Polynomials chapter. And for this lesson, my goal is to add and subtract polynomials, but I might have to deal with some brackets, and the goal is to remove the brackets, collect like terms, and simplify your expressions. Alright, so for question number 1, I need to add the expression here, and the goal is you need to get rid of the brackets first so that you can collect like terms. So for the very first term, 2x minus 3, there's nothing in front of the brackets there, so you can just remove the brackets and just get 2x minus 3. Sorry, 2x minus 3. And on your next step here, if you have a positive sign, there's a few ways that you could deal with this. One way that you could deal with this is just write the positive sign. And whenever you have a positive sign in front of the brackets, you can just remove the brackets and then you would get 4x plus 1. Now when you do that, you'll notice that there's a plus and a minus sign next to each other, and in math you just can't have both of those signs at the same time. One sign has to win, and it's usually the minus sign that will win over a positive sign. So if I erase that, I can just exchange that with a minus sign, and now all the brackets are gone, and now I can collect like terms. Okay, so here's a 2x minus 4x. So 2x minus 4x is going to be negative 2x. So those guys are now gone. And now I have a negative 3 and a plus 1. So negative 3 plus 1 is going to be negative 2. So negative 2x minus 2 is my final answer there. Alright, let's move on to the letter C here. There's nothing in front of the first bracket there, so I can remove that, and that becomes x squared minus 2. I have a plus sign here, so I will write the plus sign there, and then I'll remove the brackets, and I will get x squared plus 2. There's nothing funny happening here, so now I can move on to collecting like terms. So x squared plus x squared is going to be 2x squared. Those are gone. And now I have a minus 2 plus 2, which is going to be 0, so my final answer is just 2x squared. Alright, moving on to letter E. There's nothing in front of the brackets here, so that means I can remove the brackets, and I would get this, 5 minus x squared plus 2x. There's a plus sign here, so I will write that down, and anytime you have a plus sign in front of the brackets, just remove the brackets. And just copy out everything else. And then you'll notice that there's a plus and minus sign next to each other, and I mentioned that you just can't have that math. It's one sign or the other, so usually the minus sign will win when you have a positive and negative sign next to each other. So let's just replace that with a minus sign. And now we can collect like terms. So here is a like term right here. So negative x squared minus 2x squared is going to be negative 3x squared. So those will cancel off. And then I have a positive 2x and a negative 3x. So 2 minus 3 is negative 1, so negative x. And those are now gone. And finally, I have a 5 at the front. 5 plus 1 is going to be 6. So that's my final answer right there, negative 3x squared minus x plus 6. Alright, let's move on to letter G here. So for letter G, there's nothing in the front there, so that will be negative x squared plus 2 minus 3x. There's a plus sign here, so let's write the plus sign out and then remove the brackets. And then once again, you can't have a plus and a minus sign next to each other, so it's usually the minus sign that will win. So let's replace that with the minus sign, and now let's collect like terms here. So I have a negative x squared and a negative 4x squared, so negative 1 minus 4 is going to be negative 5x squared. Cancel those guys off. And then there's a negative 3x and a positive x, so negative 3 plus 1 is going to be negative 2x. Those guys are now gone. And then finally there's a plus 2 and a negative 5, so plus 2 minus 5 is going to be negative 3. So there's my final answer there, negative 5x squared minus 2x minus 3. Okay, let's move on to question number 4. And for question number 4, I'm dealing with more brackets, but the problem here is there's this negative sign right there, and there's a few ways where you could deal with the negative sign there. One thing that you can do is you can distribute the negative sign into the brackets here, which is the most common technique used by most teachers. So let's go ahead and do that first. So if I take this negative sign and multiply that with negative 2x, a negative gives me positive 2x. And then a negative and a positive 3 will be negative 3. All right, so when you have a negative sign, and positive sign, it's the negative sign that will win. All right, so that's how you kind of distribute that minus sign right through. And then also there's nothing in front of this bracket, so if there's nothing in front of that bracket, you can just remove the brackets. And now you can collect like terms. 4x plus 2x is going to be 6x, and 2 minus 3 is going to be negative 1. So 6x minus 1 is your answer there. Okay, let's move on to letter C now. Once again, there's a minus sign here, so if you distribute the minus sign through, negative onto that 6 will just be negative 6, and then this negative with this negative 2x, well, there's a negative sign and a negative sign, so two negatives will give you positive 2x. And then there's nothing in front of that bracket, so you can just remove the brackets and you get negative x squared plus 5 minus 4x. And after that, you can collect like terms. Here's a negative x squared term that has no like terms, so that one's done. And then I have a 4x, negative 4x, and a positive 2x. So negative 4 plus 2 is going to be negative 2x. Those are done. And then finally, there is a negative 5 here and negative 6. So 5 minus 6 is going to be negative 1. So your final answer is negative x squared minus 2x minus 1. All right, let's move on to letter E. It's going to erase the previous answer here so I have a little bit of space. Here's a minus sign. So the minus sign can just distribute into the brackets. So let's go ahead and just do the first case first. So let's do the first step first to simplify this. So this will be a negative 3. And then this negative sign will now attack this negative sign. So a negative and negative gives you positive 2x squared. And then finally, there's a negative and another negative, and that will give you positive 4x. And just like the previous problems, if you have nothing in front, just remove the brackets. All right, so that's one of the key steps, removing all the brackets. And then you can collect like terms. Here's a positive x squared and a positive 2x squared. So that's the same thing as 1 plus 2, which is going to be 3x squared. So those are done. And then we can do, now we can do negative 2x and positive 4x. So negative 2 plus 4 will be positive 2x. Those are done. And finally, you just have the the minus 4 minus 3. So negative 4 minus 3 will be negative 7. So negative 7 is your constant in that problem. Okay, let's move on to letter G now. Here's my minus sign in the middle. All right, so minus times a minus will be positive 3x. And then a minus times a positive will be negative 2x squared. And then a negative and a negative will give you positive 1. All right, and then you have nothing in the front in the first bracket, so you can remove the brackets and you would get negative 3x plus 2x squared. And now we can collect the like terms here. So plus 2x squared and negative 2x squared, those will cancel off. And then a negative 3x plus 3x, those can cancel off. So your only survivor here is just plus 1. That's your final answer. Okay, let's move on to question number 7, some combined operations now. So in these kind of problems, we now have 3 sets of brackets, and let's get right into this. I would always start with the minus signs. Remember, the minus signs, they kind of distribute or rainbow right through, so this would be negative 4x. And this minus and this positive, a minus and a positive will give you minus 2. And if you have a positive sign here, we can write down the positive as is and just remove the brackets. So this would be 3x minus 4. And over at the front here, there's nothing in front, so I can remove the brackets and I would get 2x minus 3. All right, now let's collect the like terms here. So here's a 2x, a negative 4x, and a positive 3x. So now we have to add and subtract the numbers here. So 2 minus 4 is negative 2, and negative 2 plus 3 is going to be 1, so that will be 1x. Okay, so now these guys are all gone. And then ask yourself, what is negative 3 minus 2? Well, that's negative 5, and negative 5 minus 4 is going to be negative 9. So my final answer can be written as x minus 9. Okay, let's move on. For the next question, I have a minus sign here and a minus sign at the very end. So let's go ahead and rainbow in the minus sign. That'll be -2. If I rainbow in this minus sign, a minus and a minus will give me positive x squared. And if I do a minus and a positive, that will give me -x. Then over here, it's a positive sign, so I can write a positive sign for that and remove the brackets. So that will be x minus 3x squared plus 4. That one's not too hard. And then at the very end here, a minus with the 2x squared would be minus 2x squared. And then this minus and that minus, two minuses will give me a positive 1. All right, so all my brackets are gone now, and now I need to collect my like terms. Let's start with the powers of 2. So here's a power of 2, here's a power of 2, and there's a power of 2. When you're collecting like terms, just combine the coefficients. So this is a positive 1 minus 3 is going to be -2, and -2 minus 2 is going to be -4. So -4x squared. Those are now gone. Okay, now let's use my green marker and circle the x's now. So here's a -x plus x. Okay, so those will just cancel off. So -1 plus 1 is just 0. And then finally we have some numbers at the very end here. I'll use the blue marker again. Here's a -2 plus 4. So -2 plus 4, -2 plus 4 is 2, and 2 plus 1 is going to be 3. Just one sec. Sorry, that should be right. So -2 plus 4 is positive 2, and positive 2 plus 1 is going to be positive 3. So 4x squared plus 3 is my final answer for that one. All right, let's move on. Here's a minus sign here, so let's go ahead and rainbow that in. Minus and a minus will give you positive 2x squared. A minus and a minus will give you another positive, this time positive 4. I have a positive sign there, so I can write a positive here and remove the brackets. There's nothing in front of that bracket, so I can remove the brackets there, and I would have -3x squared plus 4x minus 6. All right, now we need to collect like terms. I'll start with the powers of 2 here. So -3x squared plus positive x plus 2x squared. So that's the same thing as -3 plus 2, which will be -1. So -1x squared. Those will now cancel off. And then I have a positive 4x and a positive 5x, so that will be a positive 9x. And those can now cancel off. And then finally I have a -6 plus 4, which is -2, and -2 minus 3 will be -5. And I can rewrite this as -x squared plus 9x minus 5. All right, let's move on to letter G now. Okay, so hopefully we can speed this up here. There's nothing in front of there, so I can remove the brackets. There's a plus sign, there's a plus sign here. If there's a plus sign, I can write the plus sign, and then I can remove the brackets. And you'll notice right here, there's a plus and minus next to each other. So when you have a plus and minus sign next to each other, the minus sign always wins. So that will be a minus sign there. And then over at the very end here, the minus sign will distribute. So that will be positive 6y squared. And a negative and a positive will be -y. All right, so let's collect our like terms now. Let's start with the powers of 2. So here's a -yx squared and a positive 6y squared. So -1 plus 6 will be, there's one more like term here. Okay, so now let's add up all the numbers now. So I have a -1 here, minus 2, which would be -3. -3 plus 6 will be 3y squared. So those guys are now all gone. And then if I have a -7y plus y plus 5y and a -y there. So we need to add up all those numbers. So -7 plus 1 is -6. -6 plus 5 is -1. And -1 minus y would be -2. So -2y. And now these guys are all gone. And the last thing that's left over is this -2 here. So that -2 will just tag along. And that's my final answer. 3y squared minus 2y minus 2. All right, so those are some of the more standard level questions. They're not too difficult. For the next questions in your homework, we give you a few shapes, and I'll be asking you to find the perimeter of each figure. And all you have to do is kind of look at the shape and then find the missing sides and then collect like terms. So in this square, all sides are equal. So this top piece will be 2x minus 1, and this right side would be 2x minus 1, and this left side would be 2x minus 1. After that, you can collect the like terms. So 2x plus 2x plus 2x plus 2x, that's going to be 8x. And then here's a minus 1, minus 1, minus 1, and minus 1. That's going to be negative 4. So negative 1, minus 1, minus 1, minus 1 will be negative 4. All right, so some of these ones you can do, some of these questions you can do in your head. Just make sure you label all the sides. All right, let's move on to the next one here. This time we have a rectangle, so the top piece will be 2x plus 4, and the left-hand side will be x minus 3. All right, you've labeled all the sides. Now let's collect our like terms. So here's a 2x, an x, a 2x, and an x. And now it's just an adding game. So 2x plus x is 3x. 3x plus 2x is going to be 5x, and 5x plus 1 is going to be 6x, so 6x. And then I have a plus 4 and a plus 4, which is 8. 8 minus 3 is 5, and 5 minus 3 is going to be 2. So it would be 6x plus 2 is a final answer there. All right, let's move on to letter E now. And once again, I need to label the sides. So if that's x minus 2, this is going to be x minus 2. And if this bottom piece here is 2x plus 3, then this will be 2x plus 3. All right, let's circle the like terms. So x plus 2x is 3x, 4x, 6x. So that's going to be 6x if I collect all the x's there. And then here's a negative 2 and a negative 2, which is negative 4. Negative 4 plus 3 and a plus 3. Well, these bottom pieces will be 6, and the top pieces will be negative 4. So 6 minus 4 is going to be positive 2. So my final answer there is 6 plus 2. Same answer as the one above. All right, so for letter F, I need to find the perimeter. So the perimeter is this outside shape here. And one of the reasons why I'm color coding this in yellow and green is to emphasize that the two yellow pieces on the top and the bottom make a full circle, and the two green pieces on the left and right hand sides, that also forms a full circle. If you want to find the perimeter of a circle, that's actually called circumference, and the formula for that is 2 pi r. So this circumference, if I look at this in terms of the yellow and the green regions, I can say the circumference represents that part and this part put together. The two yellow pieces together will give me a full circle, which is 2 pi r. And the radius here is actually x plus 2. So if I apply that, this is going to be 2 pi times the radius, which is x plus 2. And then I can do another circumference formula. And this will now apply for the green regions. So this is pretty much that part there and that part there. That's a full circle. And you'll notice that my radius is still x plus 2. So I need an x plus 2 there. So now the main thing I need to do now is I need to take this expression here in blue and I need to add it to this expression in blue at the very bottom, because that gives me the distance around the full circle for the yellow part plus the distance around the full circle for the green part. And if I add those two blue pieces together, then I will get the circumference for the total shape. Now, this isn't too bad. Think of 2 pi and 2 pi. Sorry, if I combine 2 pi and 2 pi, that's the same thing as 2x plus 2x, which is 4x. So 2 pi plus 2 pi will be 4 pi, and then the x plus 2 can just tag along. So your final answer is 4 pi times x plus 2. The back of the book actually takes it one step further, and we'll do this next chapter, but they distribute this. So this will be 4 pi x plus 8 pi. So if you want to multiply that through by using the rainbow technique or the distribution technique, you will get 4 pi x plus 8 pi. Okay, let's move on to the next few questions here. We have a few more perimeter type problems here. So number 9, determine the perimeter. Okay, so let's label all the sides here. If this is 3x, then this has to be 3x. And if this part here, this size, if that's x, then this has to be x. If this part is x, then this side here has to be x. And if this part here is 6, then this part down here has to be 6 as well. If this is 4, then this has to be 4. And if this is 3, then this has to be 3 as well. So all we're doing now is we're just adding up all of these yellow pieces here. And if I add up all the yellow pieces there, then that should be the perimeter. Okay, let's do this. What's 3x plus 3x? Well, that's 6x. That's 6x. And then we have these guys, x plus x, that's going to be 2x. And then on the side here, I have this x and that x. X plus x is going to be 2x, so 2x. And then I have a 6 and a 6, so 6 plus 6 is 12. All right. And now I can focus my attention on the very last piece. 4 plus 4 is going to be 8, and 3 plus 3 is going to be 9. All right, now we need to add up all these like terms. 6 plus 2 plus 2, that's going to be 10x. Those are now all gone. And then 12 plus... oh, sorry, I made a mistake here. This is not 9. This is actually 6. Sorry, 3 and 3 here. 3 plus 3 is going to be 6. So sorry about that. And if I combine all this, 12 plus 8 is 20, and 20 plus 6 is 26. So that's my final answer here, 10x plus 26. So I do apologize for this answer right here, this 6 right here. That's supposed to be 6, not 9. I think I did 3. I think I did 3 times 3 in my mind really quickly, so I do apologize for that. Okay, let's move on to the next one, letter D. Okay. All right, so if this side here is 12, then that means this side here has to be 12. And if this side here is 2, then this side here has to be 2. And if this side here is 2, then this bottom piece is going to be 2. What you need to do is you need to figure out this yellow region right here, the yellow sides. Now, if you think about this logically, if this whole piece is going to be x, and this part over here is 2, then this remaining part is got to be x minus 2. All right, so we're taking the full piece and we're subtracting that little piece. This piece is x and that's 2, so x minus 2 is going to be that region right there. So take a little bit of time to just kind of think about that on your own if you didn't understand that. Some of these expressions might be a bit hard to explain on the videos because a lot of this is some common sense material. But if I had to explain it one more time, I mean, this whole region right here is x. And this purple region here is 2. If you want to get this yellow region, you would do green minus purple, and green minus purple is x minus 2. Okay, so hopefully that made it a little bit more better to understand, but hopefully it's not too bad. All right, so this is going to be x minus 2, and this region right here is also x minus 2. All right, so now we need to collect all the like terms here. So what we're doing is we're taking the yellow region, which is x minus 2, and we're adding it with that x minus 2. And then we're also combining that with the 12s and all of these 2's here, and that should be my perimeter. Well, let's figure out the perimeter over here first. That one's a bit easier, right? 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 is going to be 8. This top and that bottom, 12 plus 12 is 24. And then this x plus that x is going to be 2x. And then negative 2 minus 2 is going to be negative 4. All right, so 8 plus 24 is going to be 32. And then 32 minus that 4 is going to give you 28 plus the 2x. So your final answer should be 2x plus 28. Okay, that's it for that problem. And to finish off the homework video, the video homework guide, question number 10 has to do with surface area. And when you're doing surface area, I would go ahead and calculate each individual side. So if I take a look at this front piece right here, I mean, the front is just it's a rectangle, right? And the area of a rectangle is just length times width. So that's going to be just 5 times 2, and 5 times 2 is going to be 10. If the front is 10, then by symmetry, the back also has to be 10, right? Okay, after that, let's go ahead and tack the side now. So this is the side right here. So the side is also a rectangle. So the side of that rectangle is going to be x times this side, which will be 5. So 5 times x is going to be 5x. So if I make another section here for the side is just 5 times x, which is going to be 5x. And by symmetry again, the other side, sorry I said B, I was going to say back side, but let's just say the other side. If that front side is 5x, then the other side has to be 5x. And then finally, you just need to deal with the top here, the top and the bottom, but if you have the top, then you can easily find the bottom. Alright, so the top is this piece right here. That's also length times width, so length times width is just 2x, and that means the bottom has to be 2x as well. Alright, so I think I have everything. I have the front, the back, the two sides, the top and bottom. Yeah, so I have 6 all together here, and all I need to do now is we need to add up all the like terms here. So 5x plus 5x plus 2x plus 2x. That's not too bad. That's going to be 14x. And then I need to add the 10 and the 10. So 10 plus 10 is going to be 20. So my final answer is 14x plus 20. Alright, so that concludes this video. Thanks for watching.